Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 1 Week Song Club. Now, what the heck is this, right? Like, you probably heard about this either from me, or maybe you saw it on an ad, or maybe you just found it randomly. So, what the heck is this? Uh, Here's what the 1 Week Song Club is. The 1 Week Song Club focuses on exactly what the name is, writing and releasing a song every week. Now, I'm going to talk a lot in this course about mindset. I'm definitely going to go into technical things and show you how you can set yourself up for success to write and release a song every week. But this focuses on one thing very specifically: write and release a song every week and get it out there, do a thing, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again and again and again and again. That is what this project, that's what this course is going to be all about. So, little bit of background info. Who the heck am I? I'm Brian Bottkiller. I'm an electronic musician. I'm a drummer. I'm a technologist. I guess that would be a good way of putting it. I have spent the better part of my life creating music, learning how to create music, and starting about 25 years ago, a long time ago, we'll just say. And I started to produce music on very rudimentary tools when I was much younger, all the way up until now in this crazy future in which we live, where we have so many tools at our disposal for creating music that it can get a little bit daunting, and sometimes we just don't create anything. And that's what this course is going to be about, at least partially, is getting over some of these really daunting things that exist that are really cool and you would think would always be really helpful, but can kind of make things a little bit difficult. So I've been doing this for a while, and since 2014, I have been writing and releasing a song every week on even numbered years. So I've been doing that for 10 years. I'm currently in one of those cycles right now in 2024. It's October. I've written 40 songs this year, and by the end of this year, I will have written 52 songs. I've done that for all of the other even numbered years since 2014. Now, I did not come up with this idea at all. This is the brainchild of a project called Weekly Beats, run by a really awesome musician named Phil Harmonic, who I have to give a huge shout out to. Because if I had not found Weekly Beats in 2014, and by the way, I did find Weekly Beats because of the Create Digital Music blog, because of a post on Facebook, I think literally in January, the first maybe day of January 2014, I saw this post about the Weekly Beats project. And I was like, what the heck is this? So I went to the website. It was very straightforward. It wasn't a big, social media network or anything like that. It was just basically a grid of little boxes that you would click on every single week and upload a song. And you give it a name and write some info about why you did it. And that was it. And the goal was to write and release a song every week. And it had started in 2012. So I've been doing Weekly Beats since it started. If I had known about it in 2012, I definitely would have gone for it, I think. But everything comes to us at the right time, I think. And Weekly Beats came to me at the right time. So I have to just really stress, I didn't come up with this idea. And if it weren't for Weekly Beats, I simply would not have written as much music as I have written. Since I started doing Weekly Beats, I've written over 300 songs. I have released 4 albums. And I've worked with some of my musical heroes as a result of doing this, or at least partially of having done this. Before then, I luckily had some luck in that space, but it really propelled me forward. So this has been a transformative thing in my life. Weekly Beats very simply transformed my life as a musician, and completely for the better. And particularly it did that because it made me sit down and do the work. Because I thought to myself at first, like, oh yeah, well, what the heck, sure, write and release a song every week. Maybe I'll do a couple of them, and but by the time I had done 1 month, of Weekly Beats in 2014, and I had already written 4 songs. And particularly, I had taken songs that I had had on the back burner for years, and I had finally finished them. I had taken all the bits of them, retooled them, and turned them into actual songs. By the time I did 1 month and 4 songs, I was like, okay, I've got to do every week of this. I do. I need to just make this happen. And it became a challenge because I am a completionist. You know, I love getting things done, and particularly I love creative things getting done. So it really spoke to me in a lot of ways. It spoke to me in this challenge way that was like, hey, you need to do this. Like there were no high stakes. There are no high stakes in Weekly Beats. The project says you can upload a song every week if you want to. If you don't have time or you don't want to or something else, that's completely fine as well. The only major rules is that it needs to be an original piece of music, it needs to be something you wrote that week of when you're submitting it, and it needs to be at least a minute long. That's pretty much it. There's not many rules. So any rules that come out of that process are kind of imposed on yourself, you know, creatively, and with respect to your personal responsibility, you know, how it is that you really keep yourself motivated to do this thing. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, Weekly Beats as a project just says, here's a place for you to put your music up, and there's other people putting their music up, and everyone's going to listen more than likely to what it is that everyone does. You can all comment on it. We have a really great Discord that I am on, and you could certainly join as well, where all of us really just are a bunch of music geeks making music. You know, there's no write and release a song every week here and then make $10,000 off of it, or blah, blah, blah. There's none of this bootstrapper nonsense that I have seen in other musical challenges out there that are like, you have to write this song and it has to be perfect and it's got to be making you money. You know, this isn't The Voice. This isn't any of that goofy garbage that you've seen on TV, Making the Band, The Voice, Masked Singer, and it's not any of that, okay? And the more that we distance ourselves away from nonsense like that as creatives, the better, because none of that stuff is actually fostering real creativity, as far as I'm concerned. You may feel otherwise, and that's completely fine, but doing something in a vacuum like that also has these high stakes that are telling you, like, if you don't do this, the world is over and your work means nothing. Nothing good is going to come out of that. It's just simply not. Musicians who have fallen into that trap, which happens time and time again, generally get really disenchanted with what it is that they are doing, and they stop creating, and they don't really want to be musicians anymore. I've gotten there myself. I was there in 2012 as a drummer who had been playing in a band that got some pretty good success, that I had pushed really hard for success for that band. But my idea of success really, I mean, I was younger and my idea of success was just very skewed. You know, for me, it was, we have to crank out all this stuff in order to make money. And so how do we tune our music in order to make money? And in reality, that just doesn't work. It doesn't have any longevity. That's why I say that things like The Voice and all that, they just don't really matter. You know, it's singing other people's songs and music that's made by other people and all this other kind of stuff, and becoming a figurehead for the music industry is not ultimately going to feed you as a creative, as somebody who has something in them that you want to put out into the world. So that is why I love Weekly Beats and why I'm so grateful for it, because when I finished my first run of Weekly Beats in 2014, I felt amazing. I had written 52 songs. I had never done anything like that before. I had turned out more music in 1 year than I had turned out in my entire life before then. Was every single song that I did absolutely perfect and a banger or anything? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But that was the point. That was the reason that I was doing it. That was what I liked about Weekly Beats, is that it was simply saying, you just need to go ahead and do this. And then you're going to keep doing it, and you're going to keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's something I'm really going to preach a lot in this course. So that's me, essentially. As to the music that I've created, you can find all that on Spotify and everything else. You can find it on Bandcamp. And, I've put all of this music out onto the internet, starting with Weekly Beats, then making its way out onto Bandcamp and Spotify and streaming services and et cetera, et cetera. And I am a bit more picky when I'm releasing it out into the wild onto Spotify and everything like that. But I like being able to point at my catalog of music that I have written and say, I've done all of that. I've gotten to the point where I will listen to my own music now and not even recognize some of this stuff that I've written. I won't remember having done it because I did that piece of music and I said, cool, it's done. I'm moving on. I'm going to do another thing. And I kind of really love that because I come back to a lot of it and go like, wow, this was actually really good. And it was a very good marker of where my life was at that time. I've done Weekly Beats through some very difficult times in my life. In fact, the most difficult times of my life, I have continued this project. And regardless of how I was feeling in one of those weeks when I was really going through some hard stuff, doing Weekly Beats, it kept me together in a lot of ways. It gave me something to aspire to, something to work on, something that was bigger than myself in some way or another, and took me away from whatever was causing me pain, at least for a little while. So as you can tell, I mean, I literally can't speak highly enough of the Weekly Beats project. I highly suggest that you check it out. And I want to stress, again, I didn't come up with this idea. The 1 Week Song Club was inspired by Weekly Beats. What this is going to focus on is a lot of mindset related things, a lot of stuff that has to do with getting over the internal obstacles that we oftentimes have as creative people that stop us from creating, from making something. So there's going to be a lot of mindset stuff that's going to happen in this course. And there's going to be a lot of technical things. I'm going to talk about how it is that you can just sit down and make a song in a week and get it out there into the world and then do it again, and some, shortcuts and other things that'll hopefully make this easier for you. But I'm definitely going to focus a lot on the mindset of things here. And I want to say my way is not the only way, because there is no such thing as perfection. And this is going to be your first piece of homework for the 1 Week Song Club, is allow yourself the grace to not have to be perfect. That is really important. Sit with yourself and say, it's okay. I don't have to be perfect, because firstly, perfection doesn't matter. It doesn't exist, and it doesn't matter. It just simply does not exist. It's only in our own eyes. And oftentimes what we're thinking of as perfection with our own eyes and brains and everything that we are, what we are thinking of as perfection is external sources that have told us what perfection is. And usually that is monetary gain. Put that aside. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be writing music that immediately makes you a bunch of money. You don't have to have 1 million followers on social media. You don't have to have 1 million followers on Spotify or anything. You don't have to have any of that. That is what we usually call perfection, but I call that a distraction, because it really is a distraction from what it is that you're looking to do, which is just simply be a creative. The whole point of creating is to create something that did not exist in the world before you put it into the world. That's the whole point of it. And if you can allow yourself to have the grace to feel like, okay, if I make something and it's out there somehow, and I did that, if you can allow yourself to realize what a big deal that is, you're going to immediately start to feel better about what you do in general, and you're going to enjoy what you do a heck of a lot more. And the work that you do is going to continue to get better and better and better. Your confidence level is going to grow. You're going to feel more empowered about what it is that you are doing. And a lot of that is going to come, again, from just self-love, from liking yourself, from liking the work that you do and allowing yourself that. I spent a lot of years writing music and beating it up over and over and over again, trying to tell myself it wasn't perfect, so it wasn't ready to go out into the real world or anything like that. And as a result, I lost a lot of steam. I've released a couple albums that are very politically topical, because I do write protest music. I write music that's meant to inspire people to push back against these insanely oppressive things that come at us in this world. And strictly speaking, I was writing music for those purposes and then not releasing it around the time that it would have been the most topical. And that's a drag. And the biggest reason I didn't do that was because of myself. It wasn't anything else. It was because I kept telling myself it's not complete, it's not perfect, it's not done, it's not ready, it's never ready. That doesn't really end up being a thing. What ends up being a thing is that you just get to a point with something where you say, yeah, you know what, cool, I did it, and you put it out there, and then you just move on to the next thing. We get easily flummoxed and easily discouraged because there are so many great musicians out there and so many amazing creatives. And in the past 50, 60 years, some of the greatest music of our history has been written and recorded. And that's one of the big things, is that that music was recorded. You know, music has always been a way for people to come together in a social setting, to tell stories, to proliferate those stories through family lines, through communities, things like that. But when music got to the point that it was able to be recorded, things really changed, because suddenly we were able to consume that music nearly anywhere. And fast forward all the way now to 2024, and you can pick up your phone and have all the music in the world right here, nearly all the music in the world. And that's amazing. It's amazing, but it's also very daunting, because it makes you feel like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I shouldn't do this. You know, there's a bunch of other people that have done it, and they're doing great, and they're really popular, and they're on a stage, and they're making millions of dollars and everything else. That's great, and that's awesome for them. But they didn't get there overnight, and they didn't get there by sitting around and waiting for inspiration to happen. Just, you know, saying the inspiration will come for a great song, and then I'll write a great song and I'll be a millionaire. They didn't get there. They didn't. If they did, that's great for them. And if they had it handed to them on a silver platter, that's fine. We don't really need to care about that, but it's not going to have any longevity. There is no sustainability in that. Anyone who is creating specifically because it comes from a place in them that has to do with that part of them that wants to put something into the world, rather than just simply waiting for inspiration, those are the people who are going to have longevity and sustainability in what it is that they do. And also, that's how you're going to get out of this work what it is that is really, I think, important for you. So I just want to stress that your first bit of homework is let yourself not be perfect. Give yourself the grace for that. And then your other assignment would be, don't wait for inspiration. If after watching this one video that introduces you to this course, you feel like, man, I really want to write something, just sit down and write. Pick up your guitar, pick up your drums, your keyboard, your digital audio workstation on your computer, an app on your phone that lets you make wonky beats. It does not matter. Pick it up and just start doing it. And if that is what you get, and you see this video and then you're out of here, that's totally great. And I would love it if you started to create stuff strictly from that. If you don't, and you want to stick around for more, again, we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about tips, tricks, technical things, ways that you can do this as quickly as possible, because we all know that life is busy and we don't have a ton of time to dedicate to sitting down and working on music all the time. All of us have things happening. We are not always just musicians. We're like a billion different things from day to day. So it's important to not wait for that inspiration, to give yourself a period of time that you say, you know what, this is the time that I sit down and I write music. And if that is 2 hours out of a week, those 2 hours are yours. That's when you write and release music, and you can let the world know, this is when I write and release music, and get over that feeling, again, that imposter syndrome that tells yourself, well, I'm doing this, but I'm not making money, or I don't have a big audience or whatever else. So why should I be allowed to have this time to myself to create music? Let go of all of that. Let go of that. Give yourself that grace, that self-love to say, yeah, you know what? I deserve to do this. I want to do this. And by doing this, I am going to do more. So that's your homework. And if you stuck around all the way through this intro video, I really appreciate it. I would love to hear from you and what it is that your challenges have been in writing music, if you're interested in the idea of writing, releasing a song every week. And this course as a closer note here, it's for anyone, whether you have never written music before or you're fairly seasoned, but you're in a little bit of a rut or a stopped point or something, or maybe you're just right down the middle. You feel pretty good, but you want to give yourself maybe a little kick towards another direction. That's what this is going to focus on, is really giving you that little bit of oomph, because I've been lucky enough to get that from really great musicians and creatives that I have known. And I think it's really important to continue to put that out and into the world. And that's why I wanted to create this course. So I know that's a pretty long intro. I hope that you found it informational, and we're going to dive into some other bits of the course moving along. Now, if you're watching this video and there's only some videos or even not anything coming after it, that's because you're probably an early adopter and you're someone who's diving in here early with me, which I am very grateful for, but have no fear. This is going to continue on. This is not going to be a one and done situation. This is going to be a constant thing that I really want to see be transformative for people, just the way the Weekly Beats was for me. So thank you so much for checking it out. Please tell your friends and tell others who might be interested, and spread the word, and let's make some awesome music.